Good morning, and thank you for joining us on this UN World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims. Today, the International Road Victims Partnership is launching a guide for families bereaved by road crashes. We hope that it will be a useful resource for NGOs all around the world and for bereaved families while they are dealing with the horrific aftermath of their loved one's death or serious injury.
Ladies, gentlemen, dear friends, never before has there been so much international, national and local effort aimed to deliver safer mobility. However, as we have learned from the last decade, eliminating road deaths and serious injuries does not happen easily or quickly. Every day, over 3,700 families around the world are still being affected by a road crash, and many more people are seriously injured. In August 2020, even amid the global health crisis, member states recommitted themselves to urgent action to save lives on the roads. They adopted the strongest UN General Assembly resolution on improving global road safety. This resolution sets a new target to halve road traffic deaths and injuries by 2030. It also announces a second decade of action for road safety. To help the victims' families is the responsibility of any caring society. This includes medical care of the victims, but also information and support for affected families. No one knows the need for this support more than those who have themselves been impacted by road crashes. The International Road Victim Partnership, who have written and produced this guide, was founded by such families. I stand in solidarity and grief with you all today on World Day of Remembrance of Road Traffic Victims. As United Nations Secretary General Special Envoy for Road Safety, I'm committed to our ultimate vision of no lives lost or severely injured on the roads. Thank you.
Dear colleagues and friends, the new guide for families bereaved by road traffic crashes is going to be an important addition to the tools we have to support families around the world. 1.3 million families are thrown into bereavement every year due to a road traffic crash, and this continues year after year. Many more live with survivors who are severely disabled. Dealing with a sudden crash, a sudden death, a sudden severe injury is difficult. Often those families are left alone, struggling with how to handle legal consequences, psychological consequences, financial consequences, medical consequences. This new guide will help support efforts from families around the world. It's been developed by those who have gone through these kinds of ordeals and know what they're talking about. I hope it will help families all over the world in dealing with the tremendous suffering of road traffic crashes. And as we start a new decade, 2021-2030, of action on road safety, this guide should be one of the tools we use to end the suffering on our roads. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Vivian Perrone, Kevin Sedano's mother. A guide for victims is needed in every country because when a loved one is killed or seriously injured in a car crash, it's as if a bomb explodes in your house. You can't think or act clearly at the moment when you must do so, because if not, important information which will be essential for investigation might get lost. This happened when my dear son Kevin was killed in a hit-and-run car crash. If I had had a guide, my family and me wouldn't have felt so lost. Trying to find our way through the justice system made us feel re-victimized over and over again.
Hello, I'm Katie McCree from SOS Road Crimes, the Pan-Hellenic Association for Road Victims in Greece. I'm very proud that I'm holding this guide for bereaved families after a car crash issued by the International Road Victims Partnership. In an ideal world, this guide should be completely unnecessary. Society itself should already operate on a system of consolation, support, and care, and take the devastated families by the hand to lead them to the path where justice shines and at least calms the soul and relieves the harsh investigation process that follows a shocking loss like this. Our world, however, is not angelic. More than 1,350,000 people die on the streets of our planet every year and leave behind the devastated citizens who become ghosts of themselves, astonished, lonely acrobats between two worlds, the celestial and the terrestrial. And of course, in many occasions, the bereaved families become a prey of the processes that follow a deadly road crime. In 2011, in August 7, I lost my precious son, Stratos, 20 years old, an early morning drowsy driver, a soldier on duty who was trying to catch his shift at the army camp. There was a case full of mistakes in every involved field that caused to our family 9 years of costly and painful trials that my other son Paschalis and I could avoid if we only knew better. In Greek language, there is no word to describe the parent who buries his own child. And in addition, there is the unexpected, the unjust, sudden, and preventable death, which is the deadly shot. Somewhere there rises this huge need of having this guide for bereaved families. And those of us who have experienced life after a car crime, who have experienced a life after a child loss, we are proud of this guide, which is necessary step by step, not only to people who are mourning, but also to those who do not know how to behave in bereaved families, what to tell their people. When the state, when the government does not properly show interest, then NGOs have the sacred duty to put things in the right order. That's why I believe in what the NGOs do. That's why I believe in the power of the real, everyday people.
Hello, my name is Caro Smith, founder and director of South Africans Against Drunk Driving. I think a guide like this that was developed by the International Road Victims Partnership with specific details for each country is extremely, extremely important. When my precious son Chaz was killed in 2005 by a woman who had been drinking, I realized very quickly that the post-crash investigation was seriously compromised, and I had no idea at all how to proceed from there. The police seemed to treat this as an accident and not a crime. And it seemed that there was a lack of understanding of the seriousness and preventability of crashes. Great sympathy was shown for the accused, and there seemed to be corruption involved, so accurate collection of data was not done. There were no guidelines on the court process for us, and I realized very soon that victims have no rights and are not allowed a voice. Due to administrative errors and lack of data, the drink driver, who was 4 times over the legal limit, was found not guilty, which re-traumatized the family. This does not mean that she was innocent. It just means that due to the fact that there was not enough data, there was a reasonable doubt, and so we are now hoping that this guideline will assist other families to get justice for their loved ones who have been killed or injured in a crash. Thank you.
Losing a loved one in a road crash is a shattering and devastating experience. Losing a loved one to a road crash in a country other than your own compounds the confusion, bewilderment, and inability to act. The creation of a guide for families bereaved by road crashes is an invaluable and long overdue resource for those of us confronted with trying to negotiate the complex, convoluted system, or lack thereof, in our search for fair and equitable investigation, prosecution, and justice. We are deeply grateful for this vital support. Congratulations. My name is Rochelle Sobel from the Association for Safe International Road Travel and a proud member of the advisory board of the International Road Victims Partnership.
This masterpiece is not only going to serve the victims and their families, but also the official and governments who are generally lacking both the information and knowledge. Being a global document, this would certainly help the civil society and NGO community, especially our members, to push the government in their respective countries to develop policies of this utmost important but neglected area of Pillar 5 of Decade of Action. By delivering this document, rather a global document, the IRVP is assisting all the agencies and organizations working for the post-crash care and justice for the road victim.
My name is Bright Oyuaya, the Executive Director for Association for Safe International Road Travel in Kenya. I was involved in a road crash that left me with a disability. When a road crash results in the death of someone, it is even more devastating because the family not only has to go through the process of loss and grief, there is also the process through the justice system. And many times it is confusing. Nobody quite understands what should happen. The tool that the International Road Victims Partnership, IRVP, has come up with as a guide to bereaved families is a very timely tool to help bereaved families to go through very devastating time, especially as it concerns the justice system. Thank you.
My 18-year-old son Darren was killed while travelling to college in Athlone in Ireland in 2006. Losing a child is the worst thing that can happen to any parent, but to lose them where their death could and should have been prevented is very hard to accept. When matters are made worse through the lack of support and information, and the bereaved being kept very much on the periphery of a system which fails to meet their needs, it serves to compound their grief and suffering and can lead to re-traumatization. In compiling this guide for bereaved families, we hope to help alleviate the suffering of this huge group of traumatized people, road traffic victims and their bereaved families. We hope that this guide, which outlines the key issues to be considered, will help to ensure that the unfortunate victims and their families can better understand the full circumstances surrounding the sudden and unnatural death or serious injury of their loved one, with all of the contributory causes of the fatal crash being determined by the police in a thorough investigation, and that it will also help the families in their quest for adequate and fair compensation for their loss and suffering.